Hey guys, it's Sandro here. Today's video is a 2-year ceramic coating wash update and some scratch removal on this 2020 Ford Mustang GT.
Forever I'll be forever alone. Days and nights, skin and bone.
It's been cold, wet, a little dark and gloomy here. Yes, winter has arrived here in Melbourne, and so far I think it's been raining for 2 weeks straight, so the car is a little damp and dirty. I'll try and add a link here to the original video series I did preparing, correcting and coating this Mustang, which was actually almost 2 years ago to the week. So if you want to know the process and products used to detail this car originally, give it a watch, as I think it's a great series. The main reason I've got this car back in the shop is because the owner had an unfortunate accident with a roller door that brushed over the rear end and caused some scratches on the rear spoiler, boot and rear bar that he'd like removed. We'll have a closer look at those scratches after I've washed the car so we can see them more clearly. But apart from those scratches, this Mustang was due for a deeper half-yearly decontamination wash by the owner to deep clean the coating, which I said I'd do here instead, as it should be a great way to see how the ceramic coating is going firsthand, especially considering that this is a high mileage daily driver that lives outside 24/7. So in a nutshell, I'm going to start with a good deep clean to hopefully revive this coating if it needs it. Then I'm going to do some scratch removal on those rear panels and trims, making sure I also remove the coating on all those panels, reapply the coating to them and then put a top sealant over the rest of the car to give it a great 2-year spruce up. That's pretty much the goal with this job, so let's get to it.
Forever leaves fast in the middle of the night. Forever breaks my heart and never says goodbye.
Ah, the sweet sounds of rainfall and detailing. That's probably the direction I should have taken with this video. What do you think? I love the sound of rain hitting the roof. I always sleep like a baby when it's raining at night. Now, I actually had to skim through the original video series I did on this car to remember whether I coated the wheels of glass, and that wasn't something the owner opted for, so it's really the paint I'm going to be assessing as to how the coating is progressing 2 years on. But at the same time, I'm still going to give the wheels and the rest of the car a great deep clean and add a sealant to get them looking and behaving a little better. I remember when this car first came in, the owner was planning on getting new wheels at the time, and when he dropped it off this time round 2 years later, he also mentioned he's getting new wheels for it soon. It's stuff like that that makes me smile, because I think I've got about 20 things planned for my own cars that I just never seem to get around doing. I mean, I still get stuff done, but the car or any car I've owned is never completely finished with everything I'd like to do. I think it's just a car guy kind of thing. You never really finish working on a car, do you? I mean, where's the fun in that? If you end up climbing to the summit, where do you go from there? It's all downhill, I guess. So we just keep on moving that mountain peak a little higher, so the journey and progress of building that relationship with our cars never really ends, and I'm okay with that. Now, a couple of months ago, I did quite a comprehensive video on how to care for a ceramic coating from day 1 to day 1001, which I'll again try to add a link to here. That video comprehensively goes through the whole process of using alkaline, acid, iron and tar removers to deep clean an older ceramic coating and revive it plus more. So it's a great video if you want to understand this process and get the best life and performance out of your ceramic coating. The same general process used in that video was also used to deep clean this Mustang. I was just a little more pressed with time on this job, so I wasn't able to film everything in this video, so it will be more of a summary here. But overall guys, I just want to push the importance of not only doing regular and safe gentle maintenance washes, but also deeper periodic cleans on ceramic coatings, as it's really such a vital part of ensuring you get the best long-term performance out of any good ceramic coating. So as you can see, the car was given an alkaline pre-touchless wash treatment that was then followed by an acid physical hand wash, and a few top and bottom panels were also treated with iron, tar and water spot removers. For a car that was ceramic coated 2 years ago, is a daily driver and is always parked outside, I think it's in unbelievable condition. It's been a while since the owner has applied any top coats, as he was getting ready to do this deep clean himself. But after all the chemical treatments, any older top coat sealants would have been removed, so it's really the coating 2 years on that we're seeing. I can also tell you that after this process, a few areas that were a little hydrophilic at the start were now far more hydrophobic after this deep clean, and the paint still looks amazing with great levels of gloss and richness, which was great to see. Is it beading and sheeting water like day one? Absolutely not. Is there a few stubborn water spots, a little oxidation and some swirls in the finish? Absolutely. But again, it's a 2-year-old daily driver that lives outside 24/7, and in that context, it was way above par in my expectations. This is also a great testament to the owner who's looked after this car unbelievably well. And that's another point I want to drive home. The owner actually said it himself. In his mind, after he got the car ceramic coated, that's when he got into the frame of mind that that's where the upkeep work begins. It's like any relationship worth keeping, you only get out of it what you put in. I love how ceramic coatings can add great gloss and richness to car paint, as well as help reduce swirls, oxidation and contamination, making the wash and drying process such a pleasure. But neglect them or take for granted that they'll just keep on performing without regular work on your part, and you'll see that mutually beneficial relationship fall apart rapidly. Just try this with any relationship in your life, your wife, husband or partner. If you neglect them or take it for granted, it won't end well. But if you nurture that relationship, you become so much more enriched with how it benefits you both. Look guys, spend more time with your loved ones. They are more important relationships than any tangible possession. But just understand that in life you get what you put in, whether it be your loved ones, your faith, your career, or even a ceramic coating. Once the car was clean and dry, the next step in this job was a little scratch removal. I started out by masking the opposing panels, as I don't want to compound those areas but protect the existing ceramic coating in place. Now, as far as the actual scratches go, you'll hopefully see that there's quite a few random light, moderate and deeper scratches on the outer lip and underside of the rear spoiler. Also a few on the boot lip just under the spoiler. More on the piano black plastic trims around the boot area. Some deeper ones on the rear tail lights that have luckily been PPF'd. And a few more scratches lower down on the top lip of the rear bumper bar. So all in all, there's quite a number of scratches in all those rear panels and trims that will need to be addressed. Now I did a few test sections with some different compounds and pads off camera to keep things moving a little quicker. And what I found to work the best in the least aggressive method was a heavy cutting compound in the form of CarPro Ultra Cut on the Lake Country microfiber cutting pads. And being that most of the scratches were in very tight and narrow panel trim areas, I also used my Ruper's 2-inch TA50 mini polisher for better access. Once again guys, I'm not going to show you every scratch removal on every panel and trim, but I set up a couple of 50-50 before and after shots to hopefully give you a good look at the results that were achieved. In general, what I found was that doing approximately 2 to 4 very small and isolated sets of passes with this combination was removing all the lighter and moderate scratches, and was also reducing a couple of the deeper scratches, some of which had potentially gone through the outer paint layer and may not be entirely removable even with sanding. But all in all, I'd say it was a good 80 to 90% scratch removal without having to get overly aggressive or sand back those areas, and for me, I think it was a great result. Now, after the primary cutting stage of all those areas, I had some noticeable haze and compounding marring in the finish that would need a second final polishing step to restore gloss and clarity. For this I used NV Finesse on the Ruper's yellow foam polishing pad, and you'll hopefully see that it not only removed the compounding haze but also improved the paint much better than it was originally. The rear spoiler here is a new addition to the car that wasn't there when I originally corrected and coated it. It turned out to be a soft single stage paint, and like I mentioned, I was also able to get the paint on it looking much better, which was just a little added bonus for the owner. The other thing to take note of is that all the paint of these various panels and trims is a little different. The spoiler is a soft single stage paint. The boot lid is a harder clear coat. The rear piano black plastic trims around the boot are a softer clear coat, and the rear bumper bar is a medium hardness single stage red paint. What this meant is that I had to adapt my method and technique a little to not only remove the scratches but also finish them well. On the softer paints, I found that doing just 2 to 3 sets of passes for cutting and then using less polish in just a single set of passes for finishing was achieving great results. While on the harder paints, I found I needed an extra set or 2 of passes to both cut the defects out and finish well, using a little more polish and slightly more aggressive techniques to achieve the same great level of results. So in other words, I let the paint tell me what it needed. Sometimes it was a bit more aggression and sometimes it was a little more finesse, and I just kept on assessing my results to fine tune my technique as to what the paint was responding best to. Once I was happy that all the scratches were about 80 to 90% removed and that my finishing combination was working well, I then proceeded to correct all those rear panels and trims from edge to edge in order to remove the existing ceramic coating and get all the paint in those areas looking nice and uniform in preparation to reapply the ceramic coating. This is another area I wanted to quickly touch on. Firstly, if you are intending on compounding or polishing over a ceramic coating for whatever reason, you have to prepare and correct the whole panel or trim, or you will have inconsistent bonding and finishing issues with the new layer of your ceramic coating. Secondly is removing the coating in preparation for a new one. Everything I do is primarily based on first-hand experience. And what I've found not only working on customers' cars but my own cars is that if I start with a good decontamination process, then follow with a cutting and polishing or even one-step process on an older ceramic coating, I've never once had bonding issues with the new coating, and I've done this dozens and dozens of times. Although a good ceramic coating is very hard and durable, it's also extremely thin, being 2 to 3 microns at best. So if it's an older coating, it's probably half that thickness years later. So you simply don't have to sand back a coating or get crazy aggressive compounding it, in my experience, to have a great and successful reapplication of a new coating based on me doing this many times without issue. After all the correction work was completed, I did a final IPA wipe on all the freshly corrected paint in preparation for the ceramic coating. It was then just a matter of reapplying the same original Nova Pro coating on those panels and trims once again. With this job, I tried to do what I do with most jobs, which is work on the car as though it was mine. Now obviously running a business has always time and cost restrictions, as well as customers with different priorities that forces me into slightly different directions at times. But I can say that with this job, I did actually do it as though I would have done my own car given the same circumstances. So for me, 80% plus defect removal was the right balance to get those scratches to a barely noticeable level while still preserving as much clear coat as possible, so that in the future when new swirls and scratches appear, as they will, there's still enough thickness to comfortably correct the paint moving forward. I also tried to produce the most uniform and consistent finish without going crazy and completely all out, as the rest of the car isn't perfect, being corrected and coated 2 years ago. So this is more appropriate and doesn't overly charge the customer but still fulfills their needs. Now the corrected and coated rear panels and trims do without a doubt look a little better than the rest of the car. There's no way getting around the fact that freshly corrected and coated car paint, when done well, looks pretty amazing. But because this car's been so well maintained, it's not like it's an overly obvious contrast of old and new. And my guess is that a few months down the track, it's all going to look pretty uniform. Based on what I've seen, I'd say the original coating still has at least a good year or two left, so I just don't feel it would be right to correct and recoat the whole car at the customer's expense when it's still progressing so well. After the coating was left to cure and harden overnight, the final step was applying a top coat sealant to the originally coated areas to give the paint a little added gloss and saturation, as well as top up the protection over the coating. From what I was told by the owner and from what I can see for myself, he's been following the advice I gave him to look after the coating from day 1 to 2 years down the track. At first, while the coating was still fully curing, he didn't apply anything to it. If he got it wet, he'd blow off the water and also tried to let it soak up some sunlight when the weather was sunny. Then a month or so down the track, he started using Nova Boost Quick Detailer a couple of times a month after maintenance washes, and then every 3 to 6 months on, he began applying layers of Nova Luster and Jet. In addition, he's been doing a quick touchless snow foam rinse and blow dry once a week, followed by a physical hand wash the next week, and also doing deeper periodic cleans every 6 months. And this is the result. The car and coating still look amazing, and if every customer I had was like this, I'd probably be doing a lot less repeat work. But you know what, that's fine by me, because his car is a driving billboard that's actually brought more jobs my way. I don't usually bite these days when I see a horrible post or comment. I've learned that people who go for your throat right off the bat aren't really interested in a discussion and only have one goal in mind, which is trying to bring you down and lift themselves up any way possible. But I do remember a post a while back from a detailer that basically put the argument forward that higher quality work and ceramic coatings are bad for business because the result is too good and they perform too well, reducing your ability to make more money off each customer in repeat work. In my opinion, there's just so much wrong with that argument and mindset. I mean, when have you ever received a service that was average or below par and you thought, well, it's time for me to go back to them for some more of this substandard work? When have you ever recommended to a friend or written a positive review on a service that was mediocre at best? This is no way to think about running, growing, or even sustaining any business. If you aren't in the frame of mind that you'll do the very best you can to provide the very best service and outcome for each and every client you come across, you've already failed. Your work ethic and reputation as a detailer is what's going to provide growth and long-term sustained work, not half-pleased clients coming back for more. It's just too competitive to think that's going to work as a strategy. But beyond that, just think for a moment what you're becoming when you try to base your work ethic around a devised hack for generating repeat customers. Are you really going to feel good about yourself knowing you could have done better? Is that really a good way to go through life, and do you want to pass that philosophy down to your kids? I don't think so. I was super happy with how this job went. The customer was also really pleased and grateful, and if all goes well, I shouldn't need to see this car for another 2 years, and that's how I gauge a job well done. I think I'll leave it there, guys, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to say thanks and help support future content, you can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ccad, in which I'll leave a link to in the description box, or you can now hit the thanks button below the video, and thank you everyone for the support so far. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. Please share it with others, give it a like and comment below to show your support for this content, and I'll see you guys soon.
Dust of Mars and the taste of loss, Grey Coast home, the mountains run
have that wildest time. He goes lost in time. Visions like waves float around the name. The tears gonna dry in the sun. The scars will heal on their own. Memories will be tattoos on your soul. The years will get better.